All right, good afternoon, everybody. Why don't we get started? The time is now 12:35. My name is Springfield City Councilor Victor Davila, Chairman of the Public Safety Committee, and I'm convening to order the Public Safety meeting on December 13th, 12:35 p.m. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We are being joined today by Attorney Shea, Attorney Kathy Breck, Councilor Whitfield, Councilor Hurst, and Councilor LaVar Click. Thank you all for joining us. The agenda for today, we have two items on the agenda. We have discussion on police commission rules and discussion on police commission compliance with open meeting laws. Before we get started, I have to say that I don't see the police commission here at all. Attorney Breck, you appear to be the only person from the city. Can you, before I go on, good evening, Mr. Oppenheimer. And Mr. Oppenheimer, are you a resident?
He's on mute.
Yeah, you're on mute, sir.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Are you a resident, Mr. Oppenheimer?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Attorney Breck, before I give you the floor, as I stated before, Focus Springfield, I don't know how this link is being distributed to the general public. It doesn't happen with any other meeting. I don't know why this is happening. Mr. Oppenheimer, you're more than welcome to attend the meeting. But this meeting, it's for the on the agenda and not necessarily a public speak up. Councilor Hurst, do you have a question, sir?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Mr. Oppenheimer actually reached out to me earlier this week or maybe the previous week and was interested in attending this meeting and had some questions. I thought this would be informational for him. He knows that this is not public speak out, and okay. I just assumed because it was an open meeting, he ought to be able to attend.
Okay, no problem. Just to put it on the table, because I know in the past couple of meetings, some people have tried to speak and you know, just so that we are on the same page, but that's not a problem, Councilor Hurst. Thank you so much for that clarification. Like I was saying, Attorney Breck, you're the only one from the city, and I have Attorney Shea, who's the city council lawyer. So you may or may not know this question. Where's the police commission?
I am not in touch with the police commissioners, Councilor. I'm here on behalf of the law department.
Okay. I have to say, I want to put it on the record. This is not the first time this happens. I find that extremely disrespectful. Extremely disrespectful that when a meeting is called, they don't show up. Extremely disrespectful. Councilor Whitfield.
Sorry, trying to unmute. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Did you ask our staff to reach out to them individually to ask them to join the meeting? Just curious.
Of course I did, Councilor Whitfield. I had two declines, Commissioner Fernandez and Commissioner Roldan. As of this morning, I have not heard back from anybody. But as I mentioned, Councilor Whitfield, it's not the first time they pulled this off.
Yeah, it's
yeah, this is a problem. This is officially a problem. And then we have Councilor Attorney Breck here, who receive most of the brunt of our questions.
Okay. Well,
because I'm going to ask you questions. He's going to tell me I don't know. I can't speak to that.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's gonna happen in this meeting. She's gonna say, I don't know, I can't speak to that, I don't know where they are.
Well, why don't
It's
you
not
ask
waste
me a
of time.
question and I'll try to answer it?
Well, I'm sure you will, Attorney Breck, I'm sure you will, but I'm sure you're gonna have, like you have saying on other meetings, I'm sure that's gonna be part of your response. Because this has happened before. And the police commission reports to the city council. And we have questions that we want to ask them.
Counselor Davila, if I could finish,
Yes, go ahead, Councilor.
my statement. The police commission was appointed by the mayor. So I would say write a letter to the mayor and the police commissioner about your disappointment, but in order to just move this meeting forward to see if we can get some of the questions answered, maybe Attorney Brett does have some of the answers, and
Absolutely.
let's just see what she knows and don't know.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to ask her, but I'm just putting it out there, my complete discontent and the disrespect from the police commission board not to have the decency of getting back to us. I'm extremely disappointed with each, except two of them had the decency of responding. Let's give this a shot. Attorney Breck, good afternoon, ma'am. So it was a pleasure to see you.
Good afternoon.
Indeed, indeed.
Councilor Davila, just before we get started, I don't know if you saw my email. I sent you an email that I have to leave the meeting at 1:15 because we have another meeting with the Department of Justice and the police and the compliance evaluator up at the police department. So I just wanted to let you know in advance, I do need to leave at 1:15.
Thank you, Attorney.
Sure. Oh, and
Attorney
also,
Breck.
I apologize, Counselor. I also wanted to let you know that Judge Payne would have been participating in today's meeting, but he's ill and he's been out of work for a few days and he will probably be out the rest of the week.
My best to the solicitor, but my frustration is with the police commission themselves.
Thank you.
Attorney Breck, let's give this a shot. So on the agenda, we got two items. We have, let me pull it up here. So I'm sure you have it in front of you. We have, it disappeared on me. Just bear with me for a second, please.
Well, the first item is discussion on police commission
Yep.
rule.
There
Yep.
you go.
And then the next one is compliance with open meeting laws.
Excellent. So can you tell us, the police commission, what kind of rules have they developed so far? If you could speak to that, internal rules.
Well, as you may be familiar, there's the settlement agreement that was reached between the city, the Department of Justice, and the federal court, was entered as a consent decree, has a number of different requirements in it. And one of the requirements in the settlement agreement, starts at paragraph 118, is that there will be a manual developed that will lay out the different processes and procedures for the Board of Police Commissioners, and as well as training for them, and that's in paragraph 119. So that manual is something that Judge Payne has been working on. It's not complete yet. And then once the manual is developed, there will be training for the members of the Board of Police Commissioners on a number of topics. But in the meantime, they're bound by the open meeting law rules and various other state laws, et cetera, for the conduct of their meetings.
I believe that will include Robert rules, right?
To my knowledge, I don't know that Robert's rules has been adopted by the Board of Police Commissioners.
So how are they conducting the meetings?
They're supposed to conduct them in compliance with the open meeting law.
That's my understanding is the open meeting law, it applies to how their announcements, if they're going to go into executive sessions, the length of announcement, what the agenda is going to be, but the internal procedures of the meeting itself, how the meeting is run, the chairman must abide either by the internal rules or the Roberts rules, like the city council does.
So I believe that the internal rules will be developed as part of the manual.
So they don't have rules here.
As I mentioned, they're bound by the open meeting law, but to my
Yeah,
knowledge,
but
again,
again,
I'm not a member of the Board of Brooklyn Police Commissioners.
here we go.
I can't speak for them.
Here we go. I understand, Attorney Burke. I'm not frustrated with you, Attorney Burke. But
And
here we go.
For example, you know how the city council has its own rules. And then there's also a provision in the city council rules that says, if something's not addressed specifically in your rules, that then you go ahead and look at Robert's rules. And that's how Robert's rules comes into play.
Right.
Because to my knowledge, at least, until the manual is developed, there hasn't been any adoption of an alternative, such as Robert's rules, to govern their procedures.
I'm sorry, would you mind saying the last part again?
So what I mean is, unlike the city council rules where you have a specific reference to Robert's rules, if something's not covered, the Board of Police Commissioners doesn't have that referral to go ahead and look at Robert's rules. So maybe that will probably be something that's going to be addressed in the manual, which is under development.
Which brings me back to my original question then. So if it's not referred to Robert's rules, how are they making decisions?
That's not a question I can answer.
I find it extremely concerning.
They open the meeting, they have an agenda, they go through the agenda. If there's an executive session, they have to follow the rules for going into executive session. If it's open session, they make discussions, take votes if needed. If it's a disciplinary hearing, there are state laws which govern the process and procedure for going through disciplinary hearings. So it really depends on what's on their agenda on a particular meeting.
Councilor Whitfield.
Sorry, I'm on my phone, and so
That's okay.
mute is hard. I understand the frustration here, because we're not going to get all the questions answered right now, but we do have an opportunity since the the Department of Justice and U.S. Attorney Rollins' office is deeply involved. I think it's an opportunity to express our concerns to them on what's happening, because based on the consent decree, there are things that have to be put in place. Kathy, can you tell me who's the person that's working on those rules?
So Councilor Whitfield, Judge Payne is working with the Board of Police Commissioners on the manual and the police department.
Judge Payne. And will there be any public input like there is with the use of force policy that's currently on the city website?
I don't know the answer to that. It's not a requirement in the settlement agreement, but it's still under development and I'm not involved in it. So I, apologize. I don't really have that much information about it.
No, that's okay. I just think it's an opportunity for us as counselors to be able to actually present the case, talk about our concerns with the Department of Justice, U.S. Attorney Rachel Rollins' office. And because this isn't going to be solved here, you can't say why the police commissioners didn't show up. You can only tell what you know so far. And I think you've exhausted that information already. And I think it's an opportunity for us to do more. This is concerning. These are the individuals that the mayor handpicked, and they are not performing their duties the way that they should be. I don't understand how I just want to understand how the case with the two officers in the Nathan Bill case being reinstated made it to the police commission? And then I would also like to know, is it open to the public, the cases that goes through the internal revenue, not internal revenue, the IIU unit? Do we have access to know what even comes through? Because this one seems like it got pushed up rather quickly, and I know that there's more police misconduct cases in the pipe that could have went to the, and I also thought that the police commission signed a memo that they wouldn't be in charge of hiring, firing, and all that stuff. So reinstatement, is that not part of hiring, firing process?
Councillor Whitfield, I was not at the meeting. So I can only mention that there was an agenda that was posted, and it was going to be an executive session to my knowledge. So there wouldn't, when there's obviously, as you probably already know, there's an exemption under the open meeting law to go into executive session when you're discussing charges of misconduct, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. How did this case get pushed up to the top so fast? Like, I want to know what came in, what got dismissed, and what moved on to the Board of Commission. I just think the whole thing that's happening right now doesn't pass the smell test. I feel like there's some mishandling going on. And because I don't really know the lawyer that was chosen by the law department, but I do know that lawyer is an older white male from another town. And I don't know, I don't really know what his role is as far as like moving the cases forward. So is it public record that we can get a list of the police misconduct cases that came in since the police commission has been in place, and the ones that have not moved forward and the ones that are pending to go to the police commission? Can we get something like that?
If you'd like to make that request, I can forward it along. You could
Councilor
do a
Whitfield,
public records request.
yeah.
Should I
Councilor
just do a
Whitfield,
public, one moment, Counselor. Should I just do a public records request? Would that be easier?
Sure, if you want to send it to me and then I can forward it, or if you want to do it through the portal.
Okay,
Either way is fine.
yeah.
all right. I will-
Councilor Whitfield,
Thank you.
I had asked for this information about a month ago.
Okay.
This information I have not received it as of yet.
Right, that's why we gotta put in everything in writing. Did you ask for it in writing, Counselor?
No, I asked in open meeting, but
No.
obviously I'm gonna have to follow.
Yeah.
So,
We
but
have that.
what I'm saying is, Councilor Whitfield, is just to, I see a complete lack of cooperation from the police commission with the city council. And like you say, a lot of stuff is not gonna be resolved today. Like you said, there's something is not working here. This is a complete debacle from the get-go.
And
any other
Kathy, I'm
questions?
sorry, Counselor, if I could just say one more thing. I have asked like 3 times for the police that are involved in the IU department, and I haven't gotten a list of officers who are in that unit yet. So can you, Judge Payne keeps saying he's gonna get it to me, but he's sick or whatever. Can you make sure that I get that list, Kathy?
Yeah, would you mind just sending me an email so I have the
Sure.
exact wording of what you're looking for?
Yes, I will. I'll
Okay,
send you an email with everything.
all right.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome, Councilor Whitfield. Any other questions? No? Okay. Okay. So it looks like that's item number 1. We're not gonna get too far, as I said before. Unfortunately, the police commission is not here again. Attorney Shea, moving on to point number 2, since you're on the call, sir, would you mind, for the purpose of explaining to the public, would you mind giving us a quick 30-second overview of the open meeting law?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay, well, basically, the open meeting law requires that all government bodies in Massachusetts conduct their business, quote, in an open meeting. The meetings have to be posted within 48 hours. All discussion, public is invited to those meetings. And they do have a right to go into executive session under the parameters that are set out in the open meeting law, which would be a collective bargaining, items dealing with personal misconduct. And there's a few others off the top of my head. I'm not going to list them, but those are the most critical ones. And other than that, I think that gives us a summary of how that open meeting law works. But the police commission is clearly subject to that and is bound by it just as any other government body in the city of Springfield is. They are considered a governmental body, not an offshoot of something.
Correct, absolutely, definitely a governmental body. Thank you, Attorney Chair, for that quick overview. Just to compare and contrast so that the people at home can understand and be fully informed, this is why it's so important to have internal rules. As Attorney Chair just explained, the state law says there has to be 48 hours for a meeting, a governmental meeting. The Springfield City Council internal rules calls for 72 hours.
Well, can I just, the 72 hours is when the city council wants to post a special meeting. A regular
Well, yeah,
meeting would be 48 hours, but a special meeting, so if you.
72 hours.
Decided they
Okay.
wanted to, and that's really so the counselors can, get their schedule together.
Right.
That's
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that clarification. But
Right.
besides the point, we have rules that specify and go above and beyond the minimum of what the state demands. So I'm just very concerned that at this point of the game, I feel like we are in the middle of in the middle of the game, and the police commission does not have any rules and regulations. That would have seemed to me point number one.
Council, my opinion is that where the police commission hasn't set out a set of rules that you're looking for, such as Robert's rules and some modification, that they are in essence a governmental body in the city of Springfield. And the city council, I think, is the overriding legislative lawmaking body within the city. And therefore, if the police commission lacked rules, they, I believe, would be subject to the same types of rules that the city council has. They certainly wouldn't have less or more power or more authority than the city council. And so they'd be subject, I think, if the issue came up, that they'd have to follow the parameters of what the city council has to follow. For instance, if there was a meeting of there's 5 commissioners, and if only 3 show up, that would be a majority of this police commission. But a vote of that group would require all 3 to vote on something. The 2 to 1 vote would not carry, even though it was, quote, a majority of the people at the meeting. It wouldn't be a majority of the people on the police commission. So I believe that if push came to shove and there was actions taken, we could imply that you're subject to the same rules as the city council until you get your own set.
That's a good
My
thought.
personal opinion.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's an interesting opinion, Attorney Chair. And I thank you for sharing that with us. And the reason is, as we all know, is because of the recent decision made by the police commission to bring back 2 police officers, in which we are not going to discuss particulars on that case. But I think it raised eyebrows for everybody. And the public have to know. After all, you tell me what job is going to allow you to cost them $900,000 altogether in settlements and the whole night after everything is done, $900,000 and still be in payroll. I'm sorry, Councilor Hurst, did you have your hands raised, sir?
I did. I had it raised before. I actually think I lost my train of thought. So when it comes back to me, I'll raise it again.
No problem, sir. No problem, sir. So staying on the open meeting law, Attorney Shea, I believe, and I'm just gonna give a quick summary here. It has to be easily understandable according, oh, Councilor Hurst, did it come back to you?
It did. Attorney
Go
Shea,
ahead.
you said in your opinion that absent rules, they would follow the rules set out by the city council, or something along those lines. Is that what you said?
Well, yeah, in essence, I did. In other words, they're a government body and they're meeting. And if they state and said, well, we don't have any rules to cover that, the most available and logical rules to follow in an instance, one would point to whatever the city council does. I mean, the council rules cover the ability to pass motions, to adopt regulations. And the 5 people on the commission, there's your majority of 3, so they'd have to fall within those guidelines. So if we were, out in left field and looking, well, how are we going to govern this body, or what's it going to be subject to? I'd say, well, let's take a look at the city council rules. The state Massachusetts laws under Chapter 43 also set out a lot of the things that government bodies are supposed to do. And so I would think we would look first to that chapter to see what the issue was. And subject to that chapter, we would then go to city council rules. So there's stuff around that they would be subject to if they were to do something that the public felt was out of line.
Got it. Thank you.
I mean, again, this is my personal theory, but I mean, there are rules that the state says certain public bodies have to follow, and they would be subject to those, whether they wrote them down on the manual or they didn't. And I'm sure the manual that Judge Payne is putting together is going to incorporate all the state rules and then any modifications to the city of Springfield, I would assume.
Got it. Thank you, Attorney.
Very well. Thank you, Councilor Hurst. So Attorney Shea, so like I was saying, a quick summary of the some of the points of the open meeting laws is that the notice has to be easily understandable. And they have to, if they're going to go into executive session, I'm just reading the information you gave us at the last meeting. The paper you provided to us.
I'm glad somebody's looking at it there, Victor.
I do my homework, Attorney Shea, and I try my best. It says that going into executive session has to state the reason for the executive session, stating all subjects that may be revealed without compromising the purpose for which the executive session was called, and state whether the public body will reconvene in open session at the end of the executive session. So I'm gonna, and then there's a plethora of reasons why a body is called the 10 purposes for executive sessions, why a body can go into executive session. And just to do a quick summary, I won't read all of them, to discuss the reputation, mental health or professional competence of an individual, to discuss collective bargaining strategy, to consider purchase of lease or value of real property, to discuss deployment of security personnel, and some others. There's total 10. So staying with the easily understandable format. And I'm going to read, and Attorney Breck, this might be a question for you. I'm actually going, and bear with me, everybody. This is actually the police, the agenda, the notice that was put up by the police commission. This was put out Tuesday, November 22nd, and you can find this on the public agenda in the city council, on the city website. It says call to order at 4:30 Tuesday, November 22nd, being held at Springfield's training facility, 299 Page Boulevard. That's item 1, item 2, public portion, item 3, executive session. I'm going to read it. It says, The below referenced matters will be held in executive session pursuant to exception number 1 to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than professional competence of an individual, or to discuss the discipline or dismissal of or complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual. Then underneath it has SO number 19036, SO 19038, and then this meeting will begin and end in executive session. So, and I do believe either Councilor Shea or Attorney Breck, excuse me, Attorney Shea, Attorney Breck, this is literally a copy and paste from state law.
It's what it sounds like. It's right off that sheet. In the open meeting law,
Yeah,
pretty close.
okay, very well. So what's the SO 19036 and SO 19038?
I don't, are you asking me, Counselor?
I'm asking either you or actually Attorney Breck, I guess it would be more
Yeah.
appropriate.
Counselor, I believe SO stands for special order.
Yeah,
19036 and then special order 19038. I don't have personal knowledge of which number goes with which of the police officers, but that was the referral part of, I think it's part of the IAU investigation. That's the number that was assigned to the IAU investigation for that officer, but I don't know which one is which because I wasn't involved in the case and I was not at the hearing.
so that number is then the number that is assigned to the case.
That's
The
my
investigation.
understanding, but I wasn't involved and I didn't attend the hearing, but that's my understanding.
Okay, what would you happen to know why is it confusing? Why can it, without revealing either the name or the nature, or the nature, but I think we'll agree that looking at it, even I don't know what that is. I have no clue what it is.
Well, I think typically.
How is the average person going to know? Because it says here that it needs to be easily understandable.
Yeah, so the executive session, the reason for the executive session, as you've read, it's to discuss discipline, dismissal, et cetera. But to my understanding, and perhaps the city clerk would be a better reference point for this, I don't believe that when posting executive sessions that they name the employee, that's the subject of the discipline, but you know, I just don't know if that's something that is typically done.
Right. No, I
what I
totally
mean?
understand. I
Yeah.
can understand not maybe the employee, but maybe the nature of the incident. That's definitely, I don't see how that would be violating any kind of bargaining or any kind of law as well. Look, Councilor Hurst, do you have a question, sir?
I do. Did the Attorney Breck, did the vote take place in open session or did it take place in closed session?
I wasn't present, Councilor Hurst. I
Let me
understand
ask.
that there was a public portion, then they went into executive session and then they came out of executive session. But
So can they vote in executive session according to your knowledge of open meeting laws? For some reason, I don't believe so. So I mean, you know who voted how. So I'm assuming they did. And I guess just the reason why I'm asking Attorney Breck is because I don't see anything in the nature of what it is that Councilor Davila just highlighted that lets folks know that a vote is taking place, which would be the purpose of this meeting, right? Nobody would know based off of what it is that he read. And it just would seem to me that an appropriate post ought to highlight the fact that there, may potentially be a vote taken, but I'll defer to you.
If you don't mind, just 1 second.
No problem. Take your time.
I, again, um,
And then while she's doing that, the only other thing I would just, one, I'd like to know the attorney that was advising the commission at some point in time. And then the last thing is for you, Councilor Davila. You know, we do have subpoena powers. And it seems to me that, you know, if folks are reluctant to show up for whatever reason, and I might give folks another opportunity to make sure that it, you know, the meeting works with their schedule to the extent that you can. But if they are determined not to show up, then they certainly can be subpoenaed by this body. If that is, you know, a step that you think may be necessary.
Attorney Shea, can you speak to that subpoena?
To the subpoena?
So, yeah, what Councilor Hurst just spoke to the subpoena powers.
Well, I think Councilor Hurst is correct. The council does have the ability to subpoena someone to a hearing if it's required. We'd have to just follow the procedure, but it can be done.
Okay.
Probably
I
very
think-
rare. I never seen it in my lifetime, but hey.
And to be honest with you, it will be pretty sad to have to do that, but it's not completely off the table at this point because they've done this before. I'm a patient man, but my patient just ran out. Extremely disrespectful, extremely disappointed with the police commission at this point. But staying, Councilor Hurst, thank you for your thoughts, sir. I think I might have just lost you. Oh, there you go. So, Attorney Shea, Attorney Breck. So, going back to the open meeting law, so it is clear that for the average citizen, this is clear as mud. Nobody will really know what it is that they're going to be discussing, and I do have concerns with that. But also, the open meeting law says that they have to, and I read verbatim, I quote, stay with the public body will reconvene open session at the end of the executive session, that they will reconvene in open session. So the agenda says that they will begin and end, I believe. Let me double check.
it does say that. It does say
yeah.
that. Yeah.
So they're doing the opposite of what the agenda is saying, right? Like I know in the city council, we're very clear when we go into executive session that we are going to come back. They don't say this here.
Well, just in general, Counselor, because I wasn't present.
No, I understand.
In general, you can end a meeting in executive session as long as it's posted. You don't have to come out into open session unless you have other business that you need to address.
But in this case, they
But
came
you
out of
do have to
executive session.
start, I apologize, you do have to always start in open session. Then you can move to go into executive, but you can, you know, it is legal and possible as long as it's stated on the agenda that you can go into executive session and end the meeting in executive session.
Right. But in this case, they didn't do that and they came back and announced the decision.
I wasn't present, sir.
No, I know you weren't, but I'm telling you,
Okay.
that's exactly what happened. Which I'm not saying that will, I have questioned whether that violates the open meeting law and to what degree it violates the open meeting. And it is now 1:13. I want to be cognizant of the time.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, Councilor Hurst, can you do 1 minute, the question?
Yeah, this is more of a statement. I don't ever recall a time where we voted in executive session and that vote stood. And it doesn't make sense to me, considering the intent of the open meeting law, that would be acceptable and in line. I'd love to hear from Attorney Breck or Attorney Shea even, or anyone else that's been on the council, but I don't recall ever voting. We might have deliberated on how folks might vote, I never recall a vote taking place in executive session. So I'd be curious to know definitively if that vote took place in executive session or if it took place in regular session. And I still haven't necessarily gotten the answer to whether it was posted that folks were ultimately going to vote, but that's it. That's all I have, Counselor.
Thank you, Attorney, Councilor Hurst. I'm going to end with this. First, Attorney Breck, thank you. Thank you for being here. I don't think, I noticed that you've been battered up lately. I realize you are the deputy, but I also don't think it's fair for you to bear the brunt of the city council.
Again, I appreciate that. It's just that because Judge Payne is ill and couldn't be here, I just wanted to come and see.
But
if
I'm
I
not,
could answer your
I'm not
question.
concerned, I'm not concerned with Judge Payne. I'm concerned with the police commission.
Okay.
You are not, you should not be battered up for that. They need to be here. This is important. I'm very concerned that there's no rules, there's no regulations. I'm concerned how the things transpire. I'm not going to speak as to the decision itself because that belongs to the police commission, not to us. But I'm concerned how everything transpired. It cost the taxpayer, it cost you roughly $900,000. By the end, everything was said and done. And also the people have the right to know that these police officers could still get back pay if the case is overturned. I know the narrative right now is that they don't get back pay, but they could get back pay if the case is overturned, and that's going to be roughly $500,000. The people have a right to know. The people have to have the confidence that the government is working. And I do expect the police commission to be here, even if I have to subpoena them. Hopefully that won't be a step necessary. It will be a sad day if I have to be done. But I expect them to be here. I'm extremely disappointed. With that being said, Attorney Breck, I thank you so much. I thank the media for your presence. I'm going to, Attorney Breck, do you have anything you want to close with, man?
No, and I apologize. I do have to go, so thank you.
Very well, very well. Thank you. And the time is now 1:16. The public safety meeting is adjourned. Good day to you. God bless.